Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Journey to Greatness, day 4 of 365 with David McDonald, the GOAT. All right. Good morning, Fatima. All right, I will see you all on the other side. AJ, good morning. Good morning and welcome back. So, we just finished our meditation routine. Now we're going to get into our journaling routine. So, I will see you all on the other side shortly. All right, welcome back, everybody. Miss Miner, how's it going? Good morning. So, excuse me. I want to get into our reading routine, but I've been trying to catch us up in this book so we can begin reading exactly or out of the book, directly out of the book. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over this section now, see if I can't catch us up in the next 15 minutes. And then we can conclude our session, and then I can begin reading again tomorrow. So, like every day I read roughly 5 to 6 pages, and so we're just getting deeper into the book without thoroughly discussing it. Oh shoot, oops, my bad. It's kind of low. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so let's see here. That's where we were. So yesterday we were talking about the little voice. Pardon me. The way to scale your business or scale your life, scale your earnings and your character building, everything that you wish to do. So if you want to catch on how to do that, I was talking about that yesterday. So you have to program your non-conscious, which is also known in the past days and to some people today as the subconscious. And then we just got into responsibility. So the day your life changes is the day that you change your mind and your mindset, right? And start to conditionally reprogram yourself. The second time, one of the most important variables I would say is that your life changes is when you start taking full responsibility for everything that happens to you. I know it might be a little bit bigger, bigger food to chew, but the thing is nobody is responsible for your current reality, your current life, except for you. And understanding that, taking responsibility for that will drastically allow you to reprogram yourself, because now you'll be in a state of, well, man, if I'm the one who's responsible for this outcome or for this lifestyle, then what kind of thoughts am I holding in my mind? How am I going about, living life? And so, if it's a life that you don't wish to live, right, something that's hard or whatever it may be, how defined by you, then the next question would be is, how do I improve my state? And so when you ask those questions, like, how do I improve my state? How do I become better? Well, then you start tapping into different things that'll allow you to begin conditionally reprogramming yourself, which is a major key. So, this actually was a really good story. When you take response, so responsibility, so how you respond to situations that happen in your life, that's the biggest and most important thing. So the way that you respond, you're being a player, as the book will say, you're being a player in life. You're not being a victim. You're not taking a victim role. And so when you do that, again, your results, your reality, everything that you experience is totally different. So, and I'll just continue going because I don't want to talk about that story. So, chapter 9 talks about creating your future. So, what does your future look like? If you're taking responsibility now and you start reprogramming and manifesting a certain reality for yourself, there's some key elements or key things that you should always keep in mind and be mindful of. So number one is the people you meet, friends and mentors. Have you ever heard That your income and your net worth will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Introduce me to your 5 best friends. Let me spend some time with them. I'll tell you an amazing amount about you. Birds of a feather flock together. Who are you flocking with? Players, spectators, victims? Choose your friends wisely. Whenever a salesperson is in a slump, watch to see who he or she is hanging out with. Are they going to lunch with other slumping salespeople? Or are they going to lunch with a player? Who are they sitting with at these sales meetings? If they are flocking with victims, I do a pattern interrupt and have them flock with players. Who you're surrounding yourself with, obviously, is a really big deal. So be mindful of the people that you're sitting together with, and that you're surrounding yourself with. The places you go. Travel expands your perpetual map, the lens through which you see the world. That or perceptual map, excuse me. That's funny. I don't know if anybody online today, if you guys ever played Grand Theft Auto, GTA, and I look at learning new things and traveling as there's a map in that video game where when you travel to new cities and you do new missions, then it unlocks that map. But until you travel to that city or you get past a certain amount of missions in the city that you're currently in, then the map will be all black and you can't travel there yet. And so it's pretty cool, actually. And that's kind of how I look at life, as we learn new things, as we travel around to different areas, we unlock new things about ourselves. But we can't necessarily tap into those things quite yet unless we have this experience, unless we have that experience. We'll always be unlocking things, is what I mean to say, is that when we travel and when we take the time to really get to know who we are as people, then we're able to unlock more things, you see, because our map is huge, right? Probably a lot bigger than the one in the video game. But, to travel and to go experience different cultures is a big thing. So the places you go is number 2. Number 1 is the people you hang out with. What you read, books and media. This is very interesting. So what books are you reading? Self-improvement books or romantic novels? What are you listening to? Recorded self-help books or talk radio? What are you watching? TED Talks and training videos or mindless video and games? Americans spend hours each day watching videos, TV, online, or mobile. Do you think most of this video is positive programming? How is a person to achieve mastery and greatness, fulfilling their life's dreams and passions by spending hours each day watching videos? These people are not living their lives. They are spending their life watching others live. Powerful. Super powerful. Not only because we've talked about this, and I've never read this book before, and it's coming up again, so it's starting to identify itself as a universal truth. And that truth is the journey to greatness. Everything that we're doing, these activities are proven to work because we are spending time getting to know and improving our level of greatness. It said it right here. How is a person to achieve mastery and greatness? Right? See what I'm saying? That's powerful. I think we're on to something, folks. I think we're on to something. So, how is a person supposed to achieve? Now, I went to a seminar last week, 3 weeks ago. And it was the WFG Refresh Evolve event. And it was really cool because I was able to learn how to increase my skill set surrounded in real estate, right? Just a number of different things. And one of the people there said, hey, video is the way of the future. I'm like, yeah, duh, knock, knock. But, it was a good affirmation for me to hear it again, right? And then I was like, okay, well, think about, the gentleman also said, consuming, being a consumer of media is not bad. So now this is the difference, right? Me laying back and watching TV and saying, okay, this is cool, or watching hours and hours of Netflix shows is cool. But you take a different frame of mind when you take a different frame of mind when you're watching television and you're watching it as you're looking for inspiration. You see what I'm saying? So now it's totally different the way that you're watching. So when I watch TV, which I don't watch TV because I'm just not a fan of it, it's a lot of negative information. But I think it's definitely important to kind of know what's going on in the world. So tuning into news, or maybe even listening or reading about it to a non-partial, like, a government site somewhere. It's important. But when I watch TV and I see ads and I see like videos, I see show ideas, I see sets, I see what they're doing, the way they're moving, and the way that they act, etc. Like, I get inspired by that. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. How can I implement something like that in my business? How could I implement something like that in my personal life? And I try to, just, again, use it as inspiration. The books that you're reading is really important. The media that you're listening to is really important. We've said that many, many times. The music we listen to, how does it make you feel? What are the thoughts that it's seeding into your mind? It's just, dripping into you. And if you're anything like me, I memorize songs. When I hear it, because I'm an audio learner, I'm a visual learner, and I taste, like, those are my strongest senses. And then pretty much all my senses are really strong. But audio, I'm really, really good with audio. So when I hear it, it's easy for me to transmit messages and remember things. And so when I listen to certain musics, it plants in my head. And then, like, later when I'm not doing anything, it's playing back. It's playing back. It's playing back. So if those messages or that recording that my non-conscious is taking account of, if that's constantly recording negative music or music that is degrading to one person or another, or whatever, or doesn't align with who I am, right? If I'm constantly listening to that, I'm going to start living that type of life. So I have to reprogram myself in that way and start listening to things that align with who I am and what I believe, right? Either music or media, whatever it is that you choose. Your habits. People do not decide their futures. They decide their habits. And their habits decide their future. Huge. Absolutely huge. So if you're asking yourself, well, do we really believe that what we're doing here every morning is deciding what our future is going to be like? I would say absolutely yes. So thank you for being on the journey with me. Your morning routine of gratitude, positive reading, affirmation, and writing personal notes. Okay. Positive reading, affirmation, and writing personal notes. And in meditation, it's a state of gratitude. It's a state of clearness, right? Will lead you to happiness and success. What is it that keeps many salespeople from following these habits? Distractions and the inability to handle distractions. We must dominate our distractions. International business coach Robin Sharma calls it an addiction. The enemy of mastery is not mediocrity. It is distractions. The addiction to distractions ruins many potentially awesome lives. Proper control of your thoughts and your focus will help you handle our modern world with its abundance of distractions. Huge, you guys. That's everything. Distractions and the inability to handle distractions. Your thoughts and visualizations is number 5. Your thoughts control your programming, your behavior, and your results. Visualization. My self-image is how I see myself. If I wish, I can reprogram my self-image or parts of it by simply and repeatedly visualizing myself as a person I want to become, as if I am that person right now. So we talked about writing affirmations. What does it look like to write an affirmation? I enjoy the privilege, I enjoy being a half a billionaire. I enjoy being physically fit, like dialed in type of physically fit. I enjoy having a healthy diet. Those are affirmations. Not, oh, I can't wait to be, or not I can't wait to be. I soon will be very healthy, right? So anticipating that the moves that you make right now are going to be the moves that are going to take you to the next step, rather than assuming that presence right now. So whatever it is, you have to assume it that's your reality right now. That's your thoughts, visualizations, and affirmations. Affirmation. My self-talk is what I say to myself. What I say to myself becomes a part of my program. I am saying what I want, not what I don't want. Even better, I say it as if I am experiencing it right now. Okay, so chapter 10. We're almost there. Kinda. 8 key steps to proper programming. So my goal, positive and measurable goals. First person, present tense, through my eyes, sensory specific, daily for 30 days, and anchors. So the power of affirmations. I'm going to skip through this stuff. We just talked about affirmations. This was actually a cool concept. So affirmations are mental push-ups. You have to continuously repeat or go over your affirmations every single day. Why? Because it makes this analogy that if you do one push-up a day, right? Over time, it's going to take a very long time for you to build resistance or build any real strength because you're only doing one push-up a day. But if you do 25 push-ups a day, then you're going to start building strength and you're going to be able to do even more than that, right? So the book suggests that when you're writing your affirmations, let's say you get 10 affirmations down on paper, then you write them 25 times a day. You will begin to burn your affirmations into your non-conscious and into your consciousness to make it a belief, which then will become a reality. The power of focus. Okay, so the book comes up with a ratio or this formula called your net energy ratio. In their book, Enlightened Leadership, Ed Oakley and Doug Krug identify a concept called net forward energy ratio. They define this as the relationship between the positive mental energy pushing you toward your goal and the negative mental energy pulling you away from it. This force is calculated by the following equation. Net forward energy ratio equals productive positive mental energy, can do, non-productive negative mental energy, can't do. Non-productive mental energy can also consist of distractions, partial attention to too many priorities, or lack of focus. Here's how your net forward energy ratio works. Let's say the circle in the following illustration is you, and you have a goal you want to move toward. One voice, the 60% voice, says, we can do it. The other voice, the 40% voice, says, no, we can't. Or perhaps your 40% is distracted by other priorities. Your net forward energy ratio is 60 divided by 40, equaling 1.5. This is the same concept as the force it takes to get an airplane off the ground. You have 60% thrust and 40% drag. You have more thrust than drag, so you can get off the ground barely. You will make progress toward the goal, but it will be slow because you are 60% focused. So what this part of the book is suggesting that we do is have tremendous focus on your goal. The journey to greatness is cool to me because it allows me to stay focused, because everything I do the night before is going to dictate my performance or the way that I feel the next day when I get on camera. And so it's cool because I'm focused on getting home. I'm focused on getting home at night. I'm like, no, I'd rather not do that. Let me get home so I can go to sleep and wake up and, be in the zone. Auto zone. Courtney. Okay, so we have the power of focus. So pretty much the book continues talking about the power of focus. So 60 divided by 40 is 1.5. And if you have even more focus, you take, let's say you increase your focus to 80%. 80 divided by 20 is 4. So you notice the increase there, it's 2.5%. You go from 1.5 to 4, 4.0. And then if you increase your focus from 80 to 90%, you're at 9.0. And then obviously 100%. So the question we should ask ourselves is, and this is encouragement for me even, when we're operating with 100% focused, how productive are we being? So imagine you've lived your life, I've lived my life, living the way we've been living. And we've done all right, right? We've survived, which is, I think, more than all right. That's phenomenal. We've survived and we've figured out things. We've learned things along the way. Now, have we been 100% focused? Have we been 100% in peak state? That's the question we have to ask ourselves, because if the answer is no, then if we've done all right up to this point, which is i.e. survive, how come we are not financially independent? And what that means is pretty much you have no worries about money. So you have enough streams of revenue or enough money coming in from multiple sources or one source that pays for all your bills, and you don't even have to work, right? Financially free. Can we attain financial freedom if we were to be 100% focused, dialed in, doing the 365 journey, and staying focused and increasing our work days even, right? Mentally. What would it be? What would it look like to be in a peak state? So at 100%, it would look like infinity. That is your productive capacity. You have an ability to, when you're 100% focused, there are no boundaries. You are able to exceed as high as you can imagine. That's what it looks like to be in a peak state, and that's absolutely awesome. And it's also known as being in the zone, when nothing can break you from your routine, when nothing can break you from getting to your goal. You are technically now in the zone, and that is in the book Relentless by Tim Grover. So athletes call it being in the zone. There you go. When athletes are in the zone, get in the zone, they often set world records. So this is the future for you. This is an invitation for you to now think about how you execute and be focused on what it is that you want in this life, right? At all times, that is the goal. And this is what the outcome will be. Athletes call it being in the zone. When athletes get in the zone, they often set world records. When salespeople get in the zone, they triple their income, facts, without working more hours. Maria Vitali, the broke single mom that we talked about earlier, closes 9 transactions in 30 days and moves herself and her 2 boys out of her mother's basement. Nate Bowie, the former pizza driver, earns more than $200,000 a year. It is an area often referred to as miracles. When you are operating at a very high, focused, intense, intentional life, when you're operating like that, you literally, miracles drop you. They just drop on you. They drop on you. You're not getting lucky. It's because you're taking the time to know what it takes to actually get to this next level. And I'm telling you, I'm sharing what that is from personal experience and from all of these books that we've been reading. To go from living in your basement, your mother's basement with your 2 children, to going on and closing 9 transactions in a month, or what did she say? What did he say? 6 months, 6 transactions, 9 transactions in a month, maybe making $30,000 in 1 month, right? Or $40,000, depending on where she lives and how much the house sold for. and making $30,000 or $40,000 in 1 month after living in your mom's basement, like just because you have that fire, just because you have that burn, just because you have that focus, is amazing. So stop selling and start solving. People have needs that need to be met. So don't, if you're a salesperson and you're working out there, focus on the needs. Don't focus on pitching product. And that's pretty much really big. So the internet. So again, we have to go back to the original idea of this book. It's going to talk about how to tie things into life, but it's also a sales book. Well, it's not a sales book. It's a ninja selling book. How to be better at what you do in your profession. So it can apply to anybody out there, though. So if you work, and it doesn't matter where you work, think about how you can implement these mental systems into your daily job to either A, make you more money, B, make you more efficient, and C, get promoted. So the internet has changed selling in a few profound ways. So the era of a salesperson used superior product and market knowledge as a lever to manipulate or outwit the customer who was at a distinct disadvantage is no longer around. And so what that means is people nowadays are educated, okay? And this book says that you should live every single day granted to you and I both is a gift. And being in that humility, right? Staying humble to that fact and understanding that somebody allowing you to represent them in a transaction, somebody trusting you with their business and with their money or whatever it may be, is very, very important. And that's a gift. That is something to honor, in my opinion. It's something that I honor. It's something that I hold very dear to my heart. And it's something that I never want to break, because that's huge. So moving into this new era where we have internet, where the consumer is now more educated, I think is cool, because now they get to ask questions. And when the consumer gets to ask questions of the professional, me in this situation, I'm able to answer them. And when I'm able to answer them, that allows me to build credibility. It allows me to connect with them on a deeper level. And it allows me in some situations, or allows them to not want to work with me or not want to work with them, because we're not compatible to a certain degree. We're not aligned in a certain way. And that doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it does, which is totally okay. So the old ways of selling to an ignorant consumer is, and even myself included, if I want something, I'm gonna go research it first and I'm gonna present it to the professional, right? That day is long gone. Since the advent of the internet, pushy salespeople can be roasted by customers on social media. So inevitably, if you're mean, or you're quick to anger and want to get in arguments with your client, with people in general, it could be very detrimental to your career, period. That's what the internet has done. So coincidentally, trying to be nice and just loving on people all the time, right? Just loving on people protects you from that. Now, sometimes, okay, you get, even again, like I mentioned, I sold a house for a client. I sold it for him in 6 days. And we closed on it in 10 days. I sold the house in 6 hours. I sold the house in 6 hours and we closed on it in 10 days. And he still had some really negative feedback to give me. So for me, it's a learning lesson. I'm like, okay, I'll take responsibility, right? I'll take responsibility. I did my job though, and I completed my task. I sold the property in exceedingly amount of time. I did a great job on the representation part. I did my job, but if there's something that you feel was missing, I'll take responsibility for it. Even if I disagree, I'll still take responsibility. And so, again, coming from that place, you may have those outliers, right? In the 75 families I've helped buy and sell real estate, 2 times have I had that conversation with somebody. And so, again, I mean, which isn't bad. It's like 2%, right? So once I get to 100, families. But my point here is that we should live our lives honoring other people. And like, for example, check this story out, okay? And I wasn't gonna mention this, but I think it's kind of cool. And I think I'm gonna conclude. Oh no, we only have 3 pages left. I'll say the story at the end, so just stay tuned. Oh, thanks, Leo. Good morning to you. I appreciate the feedback, brother. Good morning, Brandon. I really appreciate that. Okay, so the pursuer and the distancer. And remind me, I gotta talk about that story at the end of the day, something that we experienced yesterday. So the pursuer and the distancer dance. This is huge. This right, okay, I'm just gonna read it. I'm not gonna gas it up. If they are moving away, they are distracting. Oh, go away. In ninja selling, you can only help someone who is moving towards you. So for my lovers out there, the people who just love on people and just want to help them and see them do well, this is really important to remind ourselves of, because we have such big hearts and we care so much that we want to embrace and help everybody. But we have to always keep this in mind so that we're not, all of our energy is not pulled out of us, right? So in ninja selling, you can only help someone who is moving towards you. And that's just not in ninja selling, that's in life. If they are moving away, they are distancing from you and not listening to you. And that is huge. Now, we are not in this world necessarily to son and daughter grown men and grown women and say, hey, the way I do it is the right way because I've lived and experienced and my reality is showing, okay, he's doing something right or she's doing something right. But again, not necessarily, it's not a space at all, in my opinion, to talk down or say your way is wrong because now you're not seeing this type of success. That's not the way. But at the same time, it's like I can't eat Twinkies every day and say I wish to lose weight. And then when I look in the mirror and I'm like, well, you're not the desired weight that you wish to be at, David. And then I go eat another Twinkie. You just can't do that. Like it doesn't make any sense, right? So people have to be moving towards you. If they are moving away, they are distancing from you and not listening to you. Keep that in mind. And then that has nothing to do with you as a person, right? It may have everything to do with them because they're not in a place to receive your energy. They're not in a place to receive you as a person. They're not in a place to accept themselves as a person. Infinite number of things. We don't have time. Pause. I would rather spend time investing my energy into people who are aligned and are moving toward me than people who are distancing themselves from me, because it's ridiculous. This is what psychologists call the pursuer distancer dance, and it occurs not only in sales but also in dating, family dynamics, and relationships. Depression era salespeople spend a lot of their time chasing prospects. Many are in pursuit mode most of the time and therefore gain a reputation for being pushy salespeople. As a result, both friends and customers tend to shy away from these salespeople. So being at one with yourself comes into play specifically when you're in sales. If you believe and you walk every single day as if you're a millionaire, guess what? It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. You know why? Because you know already that you are a millionaire. So when you go have this conversation with this client who you are selling, right, in the sense identifying their needs or trying to figure out a solution for their problem, right, i.e., then they're not going to get the vibe that you need money. they're not going to feel desperation coming from your energy and from your vibe. They're not going to get that because you're walking in confidence. Listen, you don't have to be in the nicest clothing, right? You could go to, Walmart, get a nice pair of black shoes, get some nice slacks, and a nice dress shirt from JCPenney's, right? 2 for $50. And you work some overtime if you have to get that, and just be very neat and tidy. Get a nice haircut once a week, right? Or once every other week, and present yourself. Very, very conservative financial spending. So then now you're walking as a millionaire. Then when your reality begins to transition, you're like, okay, cool. Now I have $10,000 in my bank account. Then you can go out and buy some To Boot New York, some McDonald, some Kohan, right? Echo, right? You go out and you spend a little bit more money, and then now you can start. So instead of you ironing your pants, you become more efficient. You start taking your clothes to the cleaners, right? So it's a little bit more money invested, but your clothes look a little bit more sharper, right? And then you go shopping, you go buy chinos from Nordstrom Rack, whatever it is, and then your reality starts to shift. Boom, and now you have $100,000 in your bank account, and you want to up your presentation a little bit more, and then so on and so forth, and you just slowly on that paradigm you start to shift, and your reality will eventually say, okay, here you go. Fact. That is a fact of life. So the pursuer distancer dance, just don't get caught. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but for me, I remind myself, don't get caught chasing clients. Don't chase clients. If somebody doesn't want to work with you, don't take it personal. Move on, right? They'll get whoever they get, and deeply inside that you're not going to cheat them. You're not going to you're going to look out for their best interests as much as you possibly can and stay transparent. It is what it is. You can create that value for someone else. So you want to attract people rather than pursue them. And sometimes it's hard because, again, the question always comes down to, how do I manifest? If I am a millionaire, why don't I have why aren't I driving a Benz? Why don't I have the S550, a 2018 model that's $125,000? How come I don't have a house? Why don't I have nice clothes? Blah, 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 blah. Right? I don't have $1 million. I'm not a millionaire. Okay. But what I'm saying is that you will attract that, just like you will attract business. And that's why I feel like a lot of people drop out of real estate. They're not selling anything. They show up every single day. Nobody shows up at the open house, or nobody shows up. There's no buyers showing up. And then people get discouraged. And then they're like, well, man, this isn't working. And it's like, no, it is working, but you got to believe. And that is one of the key components of being a successful realtor. No secrets there. So your mindset, it all starts with mindset. So creating value, you have to create value around what it is that you're doing, or you're going to get beat up. So we talked about it a couple of days ago, and this is I think a roundtable discussion to be had. The reason why real estate is changing is because you have different brokers out there who are offering discounted services. However, my services I'm not providing discounted services. I'm providing top tier professional world-class service. So when you work with me, it's a totally different experience than what you might get with somebody else. And I can't say it's better or worse because I don't know what everybody else is doing, because I'm not paying attention to what they're doing. I'm inspired by material that I see and marketing things that I see, but I'm not worried about the competition, because the moment you take your eye and your focus off what it is that you're supposed to be doing in this world that you set for yourself, the moment that you look over here, your productive capacity dramatically decreases. So instead of looking over there, I'm just going to stay looking forward and then just stay on my journey, because there's enough business to go around, always coming from a place of abundance, right? Universal laws. So wholesale and retail, we don't got to get into that. Boom. Okay, we're caught up. Now, 3 minutes and I'll tell this story. So yesterday, so if you guys, and girls are out there, if you want to know, this is the Ninja Selling book by Larry Kendall. And I just spent the last 2 days reading and catching you guys up, to catching everyone up to where we are in this book. And so it's a really, really good book. It's blown my socks off so far. So yesterday I was at I was out with one of my clients, and um, long story short, there happened to be some people living or like setting up shop. They're called squatters. So when you have a piece of real estate and it's unoccupied, right? So it's vacant, it's empty, then you have the potential of attracting squatters, because a squat, people who are squatters are usually people who don't have a home to live in, and so or they make any place their home, and so they set up this tent all around on the outside of the house, and um, my client was like, "Hey, there's this tent outside." I said something to them, to the people who were sleeping under the tent, because it was like a covered like carport, and they were trying to save themselves from the elements. The elements. It makes sense. Okay, so he came outside, and apparently he may have shouted at them or something like that, right? Because if it was me, I'd be angry. I'm trying to sell my house, and there's people living in the back, like potentially stopping me from achieving my goal, right? Like built out on this, they built like a tent, like a tarp fortress in the back, right? Super scary stuff. Also, it's very dangerous. I mean, you don't know who is under there, right? Or who is in that space. And so they ran after he came and he said what he said. I wasn't there, so I didn't know. And then he came outside and he had a stick and he started like tearing down, all of the tarps. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay. And then so, I was like, oh wait, 1 second. I was like, if we take all of their stuff, okay? If we take all of their stuff and we rip it all up and we tear it all up, and there's like bags, there's food, there was like cigarette like tray, there was shoes that were wet, clothes. It was a ton of stuff like under under my client's car, this back patio. And I said, if we take all of this stuff and because I'm upset, right? Or disappointed, right? I'm not me, but I'm just saying as an owner, I'm upset. I'm disappointed. I'm pissed. I'm angry. And I'm going to throw all this stuff. And I looked at my client, I said, we have the possibility of them coming back and taking vengeance on the property, because they may not care. So I've seen it where people will break windows, they'll pry open doors and go live in houses, right? And it can happen. So it's a real thing, squatters. I was like, what I think we should do is we should fold all of their tarps really nicely. Go get some gloves. We should fold all of their tarps really nicely, and we should stack all of their clothes to one side of the patio, and all of their bags, and stack them really neat and tidy right there, and then leave them a note and ask them to find another home, because they are still people. And although this isn't right, if we show them the courtesy and respect of like, hey, we didn't throw your stuff away, then they should take their stuff and be gone by the time we leave and they come back. We know they're going to come back, right? There's a lot of stuff there, medical paperwork and all this. So who knows what they're going through. So then as we're leaving, there's a lady who walks up, and like her husband's like really far away, like across the street and like kind of down the block, like looking over. And she walks up and she goes, "Oh, hi." And she's like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. We were just trying to get out of elements. And I said, all right, here, come with us. So we walked in the back of the patio into the backyard. And I was like, okay, so I just want you to observe that, both me and, my client, we stacked everything very neatly and very tidy. I was like, we understand that, like, you're a person too. We have to show that mutual respect and that mutual love to one another. Is what you're doing right? Absolutely not. Because you're trespassing on somebody else's property and you're potentially preventing them from selling their house. And that's very, very bad news for us. However, we to throw all your stuff everywhere and to put, like out of anger, out of frustration, the only thing that we ask is that you get all your stuff from here and just take it. And then the husband came, and I said the same thing to him, or we said the same thing to him. And then my client went back around later that day, and he was like, yeah, they moved everything, and they even swept the floors. And I was just like, wow, like that's so cool, right? And so I say that story because that, to me, you know, some again, we can just lose sight sometimes, and yeah. So I feel like we can lose sight sometimes. Like that time when I told you guys a story about the young man when I came out of the mob pizza. You guys remember that? I came out of the mob pizza in Tacoma, where I'm from, and this young guy was like, "Hey man, you got a couple bucks?" And I was like, I turned around because I was on my way. Like I had to get to my father, and which I could have stopped, is what I'm saying. And so I turned around and I was like, good afternoon, like top of the afternoon to you. I didn't really make any time to hear what he had to ask me. And then later to come find out, it was a young man who he got the money that he was asking for, and then he came around and he spent it in my father's store. So it's like, but I didn't take the time. And not to mention, I used to know him when he was a young kid, like a really young kid. He used to come upstairs at my house and like play video games with me. I was like kind of like the older brother, and I didn't recognize him when I see him, like, 15 years later, 15 years later. And I'm like, David, if you would have just stopped for one quick moment to take the time to hear what, this gentleman had to say to you, like just stop sometimes, because that could be the deal breaker. Keep yourself safe, but just stop sometimes. It's the middle of the day. I'm at the mall. So I say that story of success or triumph for what we experienced yesterday in lieu of, going through that experience, right? And so it's just a give and take thing. And, a lot of the times we'll have scenarios where we'll do things like this, or we'll do things, period, that we don't have to tell anybody, right? But if you feel compelled to share, always share, because you deserve to be celebrated also. So with that being said, hopefully you guys and girls, hopefully everybody enjoyed the session today. Happy Sunday. And I hope that you all have the best day of your lives today. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow at 5 a.m. Peace and blessings.